joining us via Zoom this morning, a little untraditional, but before we get started, I'd like to ask everyone to keep their microphones on mute. This session is going to be recorded for future viewers, and we'd like to get rid of the extra noise as much as possible. Any questions you have, they can be submitted via the chat feature, and we'll answer them later in the session. So my name is Allie Bongora. I'm a sophomore at the colleges, and I'm from Storm Lake, Iowa, which is in the northwest corner. I'm a biochemistry major, and I'm pursuing a medical career, hopefully in pediatrics. On campus, I've played soccer. I work in the dean's office and at the Cellar Pub, which is a restaurant on campus. And I am one of the chapter leaders of our PLEN organization, which is through the dean's office. And that's a leadership organization from Washington, D.C. I'm here today with Dr. Scott McPhail.
Hi there, I'm Scott McPhail, and I'm the full-time health professions advisor at Hobart and Winsmith colleges. I've been here about 10 years and expect to be here for another 15. I've worked with a lot of students over those years and have them gone on to successful careers in medicine and dentistry, etc.
Yep, and I've been working with Dr. McPhail since I pretty much stepped on campus. I met him for the first time at Accepted Students Day when I was a senior in high school, and he's actually one of the reasons that I decided to come to HWS. I met with a lot of pre-health advisors at other schools, and we are really lucky to have him here on campus. So to start, Dr. McPhail, can you tell us a little bit more about your work at HWS and why students will want to connect to you once they're on campus?
Okay, well, I assume I'm talking to mostly or high school seniors right now. And from a pre-health perspective, I do a lot of different things with students in the first year or two. A lot of that will be academic advising, working through semester by semester to build a good schedule. That actually starts the summer before you get to college. I'll have conversations with you or with your faculty advisor as you're setting your schedule. And then we just take a semester by semester approach to that. In addition, for some students, there might also be some career exploration conversations. There are some folks who've known since they were 6 they want to be a doctor. There are other students I work with who maybe are thinking about the PA role versus the doctor role. And there are conversations about that, and then maybe also kind of set up some practical experiences over breaks to do that. So half of what I'm doing is that academic advising. And then the other half is really making use of the non-academic time. I oversee a clinical internship program here in Geneva, so I can set up a shadowing experience for you during any one semester. It's a good way to explore your interest in healthcare and the professions, either kind of deepen your interest in surgery or explore different roles in healthcare. I also work with students to make certain they're being productive with their breaks, winter break and summer break. Maybe thinking about plans to stay on campus to do a couple of different things in most normal years, or doing something closer to home. So that's the first couple of years. It's academic advising, career exploration, and making certain you're being useful with your non-academic time. And then things will build over time with that.
Okay, so when I was looking for colleges, I found the pre-med track to be very different depending on the different schools I was looking at. Can you explain the process at HWS and the difference between pre-health and the health professions minor?
Yes, it's a good complicated question. And I imagine of the folks I'm talking to, a good number of you are probably pre-med, you want to be doctors, but a few of them might be interested in other professions. I'm gonna assume from the start of this conversation is about folks who want to be doctors or dentists or veterinarians, because the answers are the same. But for folks who want to be in the mid-level career paths, there'll be a slightly different answer. But for most folks at HWS, there's a core set of prerequisite courses you need to complete to go on to medical school or dental school or vet school. And those courses don't have to map onto your major at HWS. You can choose a major that has a significant amount of overlap with those courses, but you can explore other majors. So that's part of what I'm doing with the academic advising the first couple semesters. This is very individualized. It depends upon the interest of the student, their academic background, what they've got going on in a particular semester, and working semester by semester, make certain you're on track to complete those prerequisites in a timeline that works for you, while also helping you explore or develop the other interests you have going on. So we have kind of a default major at HWS for folks interested in medicine would be the biochemistry major, because so many of the prerequisites fall into that major. About half of our pre-med, pre-dental, pre-vet students are biochem majors, but the others are all over the curriculum and they're managing other interesting paths. I know Allie's considering some other options right now for her major. She might talk about that for a second, about how she's thinking about the balancing the prerequisites and other courses.
I'm looking into doing an individual major here on campus through Plan. Um, I've realized I'm really interested in the policy side of things, and the biochemistry major is pretty heavy. So I haven't had the opportunity to take any courses towards policy or anything like that. So I'm thinking of trying to apply to a board of faculty on campus to do an individual major in the public health field, where I'll get to utilize all of the prereqs I've already taken and continue to finish the list of prereqs for medical school while getting to explore my interest in public health, health policy, and maybe take on a little more time at an internship that I have in Geneva right now.
And we have a number of students do something like that each year, where they'll do an individual major and use that as a way of exploring an interest maybe in public health or international health or global health or other kind of policy issues related to health, and then doing the science courses some ways within that and sometimes alongside with that.
Can you explain a little bit about the health professions minor?
Oh, sure. We have so at HWS to graduate, you need a major and a minor. And the health professions minor is one option among the minors you could choose to do at HWS. And the minor gathers together a whole bunch of interesting courses related to healthcare that are not in the natural sciences. So it's courses like biomedical ethics in the philosophy department, or medical anthropology in the anthropology department, or some psychology or sociology courses. Getting a sense that kind of Allie's individual major is growing out of some of those topics that are organized in the health professions minor. It's a pretty popular minor among folks in healthcare with interest in healthcare, but it's not a requirement.
Okay. One of the benefits that appealed to me was the ability to play a sport or possibly study abroad and still complete the pre-health track. Can you expand a bit more on the flexibility of these programs?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as I stated kind of early in the conversation here, all my advising is individual. So one of the weird things about this conversation here is I'm providing blanket advice to a group of folks, but eventually we would get to individual conversations about your interests and your path, and we'd work out a pathway that works for you. And so the two topics that Allie raised, athletics and study abroad, those can both impact how you choose to schedule your courses. It might be if you're a fall season athlete, you might work to make certain kind of some of your heavier lab courses are in the spring. If for study abroad, some of our study abroad programs run every semester and they're relatively easy to manage with an academic program, or maybe there's a study abroad program that's really exciting to you, but only runs every 2 years. It's like the program that's in Ecuador and Peru that appeals to a lot of folks studying Spanish. And then we might kind of build your schedule around taking that semester away from HWS. With study abroad programs, there's a lot of opportunity to take courses in the abroad programs that work towards your majors, but there are some courses you don't want to take when you're abroad, just because med schools or dental schools are not quite certain how to interpret those specific courses. So we'll be careful about kind of setting up your schedule. In my advising, I often work together with Professor Miller in the chemistry department, and something he likes to say over and over again when he's advising students is, you can do anything at HWS as long as you plan. So we do a lot of planning together, kind of projecting maybe a semester or a year out. And in fact, I have quite a few of the kind of go-getter pre-med students who will be in my office in the first semester at HWS, and we'll work out actually a tentative 8-semester course plan, and then we'll adjust that semester by semester as we go forward. But it kind of helps kind of get some certainty, or at least kind of like release a little bit of the anxiety during that first semester.
I have one of those.
Yes.
Another benefit of a campus like ours is the opportunity to build relationships. I'm fortunate to have connected with you early on in my academic career, and although I haven't started applying to med school yet, I'm confident that I'll be supported when the time arrives. Dr. McPhail, can you tell us about the ways in which you support students through the application process?
Okay, so what we've been talking about so far is mostly the stuff we'd be doing in the first couple of years of your relationship with me. Our relationship would shift a little bit when you get to the point where you're actually applying to postgraduate opportunities. And I'm involved in all stages of that. I like to joke that kind of like my mantra when helping students through this stage of the process is no fatal errors. You know, it's a little over the top with that comment, but the application process to med school and dental school is really competitive. And I want to make certain no mistakes get made as you're building up towards that. And where we are in the calendar right now is we have a whole bunch of juniors and seniors who are in the process of studying for their MCATs or their DATs. They've got exams scheduled in May and June, and we've had a number of conversations over the past year about the best way of prepping for that and the best timing for that. We're also doing some initial preparation work for the actual applications that they'll be submitting in June and July. And I'm here to help all through all steps of that. I provide writing support. I provide support in terms of selecting schools that are really good matches for particular students. I've been doing this for a while. And I know the admissions officers at most of the schools where our students go. I'm good friends with many of those folks. I'm also doing interview prep with folks when that time comes in the fall. Where we are in the calendar right now for folks who applied last year, some of them are settled. They're into their top choice school and just hooray, yay, they're happy. Others maybe are balancing an offer from one school and being on the wait list at another school and trying to figure out how to play that game a little bit. Some others are just kind of sorting between decisions as they make things. So I'm here to help with all stages of that process. And Ali mentioned relationships, and one of the reasons why I'm at Hobart and William Smith colleges, I love these relationships with students. They develop and kind of continue for a long period of time. Plenty of our students will go from college directly to graduate school, but a number of them are now taking 1 or 2 gap years between college and graduate programs. And I'm here to help all the way through that. And I'm here to help however long it takes for you to get settled in your pathway. And there are some folks who know right from the start they want to go to medicine, and they're going to do everything to get everything lined up as fast as they can. They're going to go direct. There are also some folks who figured things out a little bit later, or their plans shift a little bit, and I'm here to help with all of that as well.
And I can talk about my own experience a little bit. I applied for one of the early assurance programs at Mount Sinai this fall, and that was a really good experience. You don't need quite as much formal documentation as you would for applying regularly, but I felt going to the office and getting to talk through that for what courses and what I was going to say on my application, that was really, really easy to have those questions answered. And I know there's the program at Mount Sinai, which is for people who are a little more interested in the humanities like me. And then there's also a bunch at SUNY if you are a New York resident. So that was something that I did that was really cool. So my last question for you before we open it up to audience questions is, how successful are HWS graduates when applying to medical, dental, and veterinary school?
So this is a classic admissions question. Everyone likes to know about numbers. We are a small place, so we typically have probably about 15 to 20 students, closer to 20 students a year apply to medical, dental, and vet school from HWS. And what our admissions representatives will want me to tell you is, like, we have 100% success rate. They would like me to say that. And that is true some years because, like, our numbers are small, but I like to average our data over 5 years just to get a good number. And over 5 years, when I average that all out, our success rate of first-time applicants is an 80% success rate. And that's way above the national average. The national average right now for first-time applicants to med school is 40%. Dental school is a little bit better than that, and vet school is actually much lower than that. It's hard to get into vet school right now. And I'd say the reason why, well, the reasons, multiple reasons why our students do really well in the application process, some of it has to do with just what they get out of their education at HWS. You know, we are a small liberal arts school. We have great access to your faculty members. The faculty here are really focused on your learning. It's not a competitive weed out, sort out program. That they want to make themselves accessible and want to help you succeed. So students just learn the material and then do well in the MCAT and or the DAT, and that comes out in the application process. We're also a place, Ali mentioned earlier, of relationships. You develop a lot of really good relationships at HWS. And it's fairly easy for a student at any university to get maybe 1 or 2 good letters of recommendation by the end. But most of our applicants, by the time they apply, are going to have 5 or 6 really good letters of recommendation. And that has a really big impact. I know that's true when I talk to the admissions officers, that they feel when they read through a file from a student from HWS, they know that person really well. And they can trust kind of like that their assessment of that student. So students do really well, and they, in some ways, kind of they do better than their numbers, if that makes sense. So that they feel like these are whole people who are going to be really good physicians or dentists, and that's really, really good. And then maybe finally, my own role here, I want to make certain students are applying when they're ready. So there are some times where I might encourage a student to wait a little bit longer to apply if it seems like they haven't done everything they need to do before they go on. And that could be that they just need like maybe a little bit more coursework in the sciences. It could be with like the student athlete who's, you know, grinding through the science classes and doing the intensive athletic stuff. They haven't had enough time to actually spend any time in healthcare settings. They might need a little bit of clinical experience. We might talk about ways of doing things like that. So just making sure that you're ready when you apply, and that helps a lot with the success rate as well.
Okay, so I just want to remind everybody, now that we're kind of at the end of the big questions, if you do have any questions, you can send them in the chat function, but I've already gotten some, so we're going to start. Someone said, I'm interested in physical therapy. What does that look like at HWS?
Okay, so physical therapy, many of the things I've been talking about would be similar in that there's a set of prerequisite courses you need to complete in college before going on to a physical therapy grad program. And physical therapy grad programs are moving into a doctoral model, the Doctor of Physical Therapy, the DPT, a 3-year program to complete after college. And there's a standard list of prerequisite courses. They're different from the pre-med prerequisite courses, a little bit more biology and psychology and a little bit less chemistry for the coursework you take. But it's about the same number of courses. And then otherwise, it's the same. It's like you're doing the academic exploration while keeping on track with the prerequisite courses and having conversations with me about best way to do that. We have a number of good physical therapy shadowing or even assisting opportunities here in Geneva. At the hospital, there's the Garnsey Rehab Center, which is both an inpatient and outpatient facility where there's a team-based practice of physical therapists, occupational therapists, and a rehabilitative medicine MD who work together with patients. It's a really great place to get some good experience. There's also a physical therapist who comes to campus and works with student athletes, and she really likes to have students working with her as well. And then there's a couple of private clinic physical therapists in town, one of whom is a Hobart alum, who also enjoy having students with them. So lots of ways to gain physical therapy experience as well.
Okay. Another question was, is there a PA track?
PA track. So PA track, there's sort of a PA track. So PA, the path to becoming a physician assistant, like the other health professions paths, there's certain prerequisite courses you need to complete. The thing that makes the physician assistant career path different from all the other healthcare career paths has to do a little bit with the history of the physician assistant role in healthcare. The physician assistant role in healthcare was created after the Vietnam War when they were trying to figure out a way for all the folks coming back from the war who had all these intensive clinical experiences in the field, but no reasonable, easy way to take advantage of that in a official licensed role in the US healthcare system domestically. And following from that, PA programs are still looking for folks who've had a lot of clinical experience before they apply. So the main kind of maybe difficulty or delaying factor for folks who want to go into PA school is finding out ways to get clinical hours. And I'll work individually with students on ways to do that. The way to get clinical hours, and as a reference point, many physician assistant programs will want to see at least 2,000 hours before you apply. So that's a year of working full-time in a healthcare setting. Some students are successful in doing that over their summers and go directly from HWS. Other students will sometimes choose to do 1 year of gap time working in a healthcare setting while applying and then go on to PA school. So it kind of depends upon the circumstances of the student. And gaining those clinical hours, you're usually doing that in a paid way. And then the opportunities for doing that are quite various. It depends on where you're interested in being for working during that time.
Okay. The next question was, what is the average amount of classes that students take per semester? And I believe, Dr. McPhail, you can correct me, the standard is 4 classes per semester for everybody, regardless of major. And you can kind of wiggle around that and take extra or less, but you need to get permission from the deans, and like your advisor needs to approve it. But the standard for everybody is 4 per semester.
Right, and at HWS we have a whole credit system. Every course is worth 1 credit, and whether or not it has a lab. So if you're taking, biology and chemistry in your semester plus 2 other courses, that's a standard 4-course load. I know the science students sometimes can complain a little bit about kind of they don't get the extra half credit or whatever from the lab because they feel a little bit busier. One other maybe thing to add to that is I generally tell folks if they're thinking about going on into a career in the healthcare world is a reasonable plan per semester is to balance out 2 courses that are kind of pre-health per semester, and then use the other 2 courses for other things. It could be the other things are your minor that is outside of the sciences if you're exploring that area. It could be maybe you're exploring different things. Maybe your science courses and you're thinking about doing a major in economics, or I don't know, doing a language or something else with those courses.
For example, that this semester, even though now I'm online, I'm in physics and organic chemistry too, but then I'm also taking Intro to German and a religion course called Death and Dying. So I've been following that path, and it's been pretty reasonable so far. Even my first semester, I took Intro Bio and Intro Chem, and then my other 2 courses was an American Studies course and my freshman seminar, and it was pretty easy to balance. The 4 classes is a nice cap for everyone to have. Another question was, what type of shadowing opportunities are available to pre-med students?
Well, we have this great relationship with Finger Lakes Health. So Finger Lakes Health owns the hospital here in Geneva. They own a small hospital in a small town about 15 miles outside of HWS in Penn Yan. They own the nursing homes in town. There's an external surgery center, a number of primary care clinics in town. So they're kind of the biggest healthcare organization between Rochester and Syracuse. And their chief medical officer, Dr. Feinberg, is a Hobart grad, and he's very supportive of HWS students. So we have great relationships with the providers in Finger Lakes Health. And also, they don't have much in the way of their own internal education training programs. So their providers are really excited to work with our students and mentor them. So in any one semester, I'll have about 20 students working with different mentors over at Finger Lakes Health, shadowing physicians in surgery or emergency department or various specialties. Sometimes those will develop into relationships that extend over a couple semesters. If the student gets invited back, sometimes students will kind of like sample around different areas. It's a really good opportunity.
I did one last semester with the anesthesiology department, and I got to scrub in to surgery a few times a week and observe both the surgeons and the anesthesiologists, and it was really cool. It was the most hands-on experience that I've had so far.
What kind of surgeries did you see?
The number one was actually like gallbladder removals. I did not realize how common those are, but in Geneva, that is like hot topic. There was like 1 per week. A lot of spinal surgeries, that's just cool because the X-ray is really involved in that. So you get to see how they see what they're doing. But yeah, that was really, really interesting experience. You talk to a bunch of other people, like anybody who's in the room, they'll ask you like, oh, like, what are you doing here? And you get to explain, and you meet a lot of people. It was good to get advice from all the people who have kind of done it already, people who went to undergrad and medical school. But I really enjoyed my experience. So it says, another question is, it says on the website that there is an affiliation with HWS and the Accelerated Nursing Program at the University of Rochester. Could you please share more information about that option?
Sure. We've had a long-term relationship with the Rochester's nursing program where students can do 4 years at HWS and then either a 1-year accelerated bachelor's degree at Rochester or straight through in 3 years and complete the master's degree at Rochester. And students, the advantage of this program, well, there's a couple of advantages to this program. One advantage to the program is that you apply to this at the end of your sophomore year and will know by the end of that summer whether you've been admitted to this program or not. And HWS students typically get admitted to this program unless something really disastrous is happening academically. And get admitted to this program, and then you know at that point your post-college plans. So that takes some of the anxiety off of those post-college plans and maybe gives you a little bit of flexibility in your last 2 years for doing something like study abroad or taking some additional elective courses. It also has just the really great advantage of going to U of R, one of the great nursing schools in the United States. They're consistently ranked among the top 10 nursing programs in the United States, and they're attached to a strong Memorial Hospital. So you get to see some of the coolest stuff in terms of clinical work in the US. So if you have the aspirations of working as a nurse in a large urban medical center, it's a really great place to train. It's also a really great place to kind of take that degree, and then you basically can go anywhere in the United States with that degree. A lot of our students will do just a 1-year program at HWS, do the BSN. In part because what that does is that qualifies them to work as nurses at the University of Rochester. And U of R has this great tuition benefits program. So they'll do the 1-year program full time and then work while going to school part-time to complete their master's degree and then become nurse practitioners. That last part is free, which is really nice.
Um, how many students out of the 15 to 20 per year are applying to vet school, and what hands-on experience are available for veterinary students?
That's a good question. Yeah, we have probably about 2 or 3 pre-vet students per semester, so it's a smaller group, honestly. But there's really good support for them on campus. In some ways, that some of these students are the favorites among some of the faculty members. There are a couple biology faculty members that just love students who work with animals because it kind of makes a natural connection with biology faculty members who study animals. We also have a number of veterinarians in the area who love working with students. There's an animal hospital just outside of town where there's a veterinarian who's been taking our students for maybe like 10 years or so now. And he often will hire the students who've been shadowing for a little bit as assistants if they wish to do that. He's been a great mentor. He's a small animal that kind of a bit of a philosophizer a little bit, kind of like in terms of kind of how he mentors students. We also have a large practice outside of town that does both small animal and large animal. We have a large number of dairy farms in the area. So if you're excited about the idea of palpitating cows in the field, which is pretty cool, that's an opportunity to do that as well. And if you're interested in veterinary school, the key to going to veterinary school is doing well academically and then having consistent animal experiences. And we offer both of those things here at HWS. So we have probably 2 or 3 per year who go on to vet school.
Okay. Another question was, if you're interested in nursing, what would that look like?
Okay, that's very similar to the other mid-level career paths like physical therapy or a physician assistant, in that there's more biology courses required, and a little bit of psychology, a little bit less on the chemistry math side of things. And otherwise, it's similar to what I've been saying so far. Kind of you're balancing the prerequisite courses with whatever other areas of interest you have in terms of academics, and then consistently gaining some experience in healthcare settings. I'd say that maybe what distinguishes the nurses sometimes, the pre-nurse students, a little bit from the other folks is that they often find ways to be helpful to others that don't necessarily have to be in a healthcare setting. So one of the things that distinguishes our campus is its real service orientation. Students are really involved in the Geneva community. There's ways to get involved in the Boys and Girls Club in town, the local school system, their nursing homes. We have a residential facility for folks with disabilities here in town. We have migrant workers in the area. There's lots of ways to get involved in service projects locally. And what the nursing schools really like to see is you do well academically, but they really like to see that disposition to help others, right? That personal side.
Are the lists, I know there's lists for the prereqs already kind of made for medical school. Are there a list of prereqs on the website for nursing, or is that kind of varying per nursing school that you're going to?
Unfortunately, it does vary a bit from school to school. I do keep lists for the schools our students most commonly attend. So those would be schools in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic and the Midwest. And but I also monitor some of the major programs outside of that region if you're from outside that region. Most commonly, they want to see a core set of bio courses, which I can share with you, and maybe one chemistry course and a couple psych courses. But there's quite a bit of variation between the nursing programs. They're not quite as kind of centrally organized as some of the other healthcare training programs like medicine or dentistry, unfortunately. So probably what that looks like is as you get a little bit older in your sophomore year to junior year, we might start having conversations about ideal schools for you, and that might shape a little bit in your last year or two some of your course selections.
Okay. This is kind of going off of that service aspect. Are there medical and volunteer service clubs available at HWS?
Well, the biggest one on campus is Emergency Medical Services. We all refer to them as EMS. So EMS is a student-run organization on campus, and there's always 2 EMS members on call at any one time during the day. So these are students who've completed EMTB certification. You can do that in your first year at HWS if you wish, and it's free. The club provides this training. And then once you have that training, you're an EMT. You respond to all emergencies on campus. It's a really good experience for students if they want to have some hands-on experience. And there's a lot of opportunities within the club for leadership as well. There's usually a group of juniors and seniors who are overseeing the whole process. And they have a nice mentor in Jeremy Cushman, who's the who is the director for all emergency services in Monroe County, which includes the city of Rochester. He's a Hobart alum and is a mentor for that program. So that's one hands-on program on campus. There's also a health professions club that's a little bit more informational. They do schedule a number of different programs during each semester. Sometimes they'll do visits to different schools when they're doing open houses. They've taken advantage of the fact that there's a chiropractic school just outside of town, about 10 miles out of town, but they'll have students allow them to go tour through their cadaver lab, which is really cool. And then they'll often host speakers. We had a student a recent alum on campus just maybe a couple months ago who's in the MD PhD program at University of Buffalo, and he came back to talk about his pathway. So they'll often host those kinds of talks.
Okay, a few more questions. If you're interested in pediatrics, what does that look like? And are there any internship opportunities related to pediatrics or STEM research?
Okay, well, the STEM research is a totally different topic. That's a good question. There's a lot of opportunities for research on campus. That's a really simple thing. We have a good number of students doing research in the summertime, full time. Those are paid opportunities with faculty members on campus. Most commonly, they're working in a lab of 2 to 3 students. And there's a good culture of kind of what's called summer science at HWS. There's a good group of students all doing research over the summer. And many of those students may also do an independent study during a semester or develop a project into an honors project. So lots of opportunities to do research on campus. The opening question was about pediatrics. And yeah, there are some pediatricians in town who are happy to take you in as a student for shadowing and kind of mentoring. But being interested in pediatrics is an area of specialty within medicine. You don't actually get to choose your specialty in medicine until you're in your fourth year in medicine when you're applying for residency programs. So the pathway in general is the same, whatever area of medicine you're interested in. And then you kind of sort things out as you go along a little bit later. And there's a joke that lots of med school admissions folks like to say is that like a third of the folks come into med school knowing what they want to do in terms of specialty and they choose to do that. But another third will come in and change their minds while they're there. And then finally, there's a third who comes in and figures it out while they're there. I told that backwards, so you know my punchline was in the first line. Oh,
well. Kind of going along, are there any work study opportunities in research?
I'm not sure about the answer to that question. That's a good question for admissions representative first. I do know that the summer research opportunities are paid, and there are opportunities to do work study on campus in a lot of different ways. I know that some work study students work with the lab. There's a couple lab techs on campus who assist with setting up the science labs and breaking down the science labs, and they have student assistants who help with that. I know those can be work study programs, so yeah, they can get paid to do that. Most commonly, if you're doing actual independent research during a semester, usually you're getting academic credit for that.
I think you could also become a student worker for I know the biology department just has regular student workers that kind of assist with whatever professors need to. Okay, so how does taking 4 classes per year play into graduating within 4 years?
That's exactly how you do it. So you need 32 courses to graduate from HWS. So you want to have 4 per semester. And if you come in with a little bit AP or transfer credit, that might give you a little bit of flexibility. But as Ali was saying earlier, kind of the default is that everyone takes 4 classes every semester, and that's kind of the pathway to graduation.
Okay. And then how does the honors program work with the pre-health track?
Well, honors is a really interesting experience for students. Most students will choose, if they choose to do honors, it's maybe the spring semester of junior year into senior year. Honors is a 2-semester undertaking where you're doing an independent study in 1 semester, and then the actual honors project in the 2nd semester. Honors involves doing a proposal, doing all the research, writing up a major paper at the end, and you do a defense. The defense includes defending your project to a panel that includes experts from outside of HWS. It's a really cool experience to do during the time that you're here. Most folks will choose to do the honors project within their major. And there are plenty of folks who've done, pre-health students who've done science honors projects. There have been others who've done health-related honors projects. Within other fields, we've had some public health or some health humanities or health psychology honors projects over the years. They've been really good.
Okay, does anyone else, that was the last question that I received. I want to send out, me and Dr. McPhail are going to say our, um, why don't, do you want to put our contact information in the chat to everyone so they can have it if,
Well, mine is just my last name at hws.edu. I'm very easy to find. If you do any searches on HWS related to health professions or pre-med, my info is going to come up, and your admissions reps will also have my contact info. So I'm very easy to make contact with.
okay. And then I'm going to send my email. It's also just my first name and then a period and then my last name at hws.edu. But I'm going to send that in the chat function to everybody. And we've done a lot of stuff on campus. So if you guys have any questions about like even something less pre-health related, just what a typical day is or anything like that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Oh, and someone said, will this be available after this? I think it will.
Yes, I believe that this has been recorded and it will be posted by the admissions on one of the admissions web pages.
Yes, it will be posted. Those were just okay. I think that is, unless anyone has any last minute questions.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Nice to kind of chat, I suppose, with all of you. I hope I get a chance to talk individually with many of you over the next few months. And assuming, well, hoping that some of you choose to come to HWS, we should definitely be in contact over the summer as you're having sorting through your options for your first semester at HWS.
And the host said that they will let you guys know when the video is available.
Great. Stay safe and healthy and have a good day, everyone. Nice to see you, Allie.
It was nice to see you.